And you're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. To kick off this year of Greek Speak, we have Derek Witmer with us from the Pi Lambda Phi fraternity on campus. So a little bit of information about Derek before we get started. So Derek is a junior who is studying exercise science with allied health concentration. He also has a standard business minor. He joined the Pi Lambda fraternity in fall of 2024 and previously held Greek Week and alumni chairs, and he's currently holding Recruitment and Scribe. He is also a legacy of the fraternity. So we have Andrew Mercier as well on the other side of the studio. First off, Derek, welcome to Greek Speak, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. Just really excited to talk about the fraternity, and also as being a former athlete for the school here, just talking about balancing, both Greek life and, athletics. So I'm really happy to be here, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, certainly something that we'd love to get into throughout the show. So, Derek, starting off, I always ask this question. What convinced you to join Greek life? Something tells me the biography will kind of give a little bit of a hint, but what got you into Greek life?
Yeah. So with Greek life, I think, so are you talking like a general perspective, or are you talking more within the fraternity?
I'd say just starting off, when you first found out what Greek life even was at whatever point in life that was, and then just pursuing it here at Shippensburg University, and then eventually landing on, okay, here's Pi Lambda, I'm going to join it.
Okay, yeah. So, basically with my situation, when I came here to Shippensburg, I had really no idea, what, Greek life was all about. I really had no input about that. I came into school here just for football, and then obviously to focus on my exercise science major. But with everything, going around with Greek life, I had some guys reach out to me that were in the fraternity. They had alumni connections. With my dad who went here. So I think a big reason with me joining is I think I just saw a lot of opportunity, a lot of connections, a lot of growth. From a social, standpoint, that's what really drove me to join Greek life. I think it's a lot of fun, but at the same time it really helps, with your future, with connections, in the workplace, especially when it comes to, managing a lot of things. Everybody looks at Greek life and, they're just like, oh, it's a bunch of partying, but at the same time, there's a lot more that goes into it. So I really saw that vision, beyond just partying. I saw a bunch of opportunities through connections, and within my fraternity, I saw a fun group of guys that, I could really trust, really have my back. So, yeah, that's pretty much the main reason.
So obviously you mentioned that your dad was an alumni here at Ship. Funny fact about that is the way I found that out was Kappa Sigma is always huge at volunteering at the Greek leaders. That's tomorrow. Sorry, the Greek reunion that occurs every May. And I remember I was sitting at the table and I was reading through the names and I saw Witmer twice, and eventually I saw you walk up and I saw your dad walk up next to you, and I was like, oh, he's a legacy. And then I kind of started putting two and two together. But obviously that probably had some type of impact. But overall, did that have any type of impact on you coming to Shippensburg? I know that you said you came here for football, but obviously with having a parent, this being their alma mater, that is something that stands out. So, did that have any impact on your decision, even though you did come here for athletics?
Yeah, I always get asked this question a lot. I would say it really didn't have too much of an impact on me coming here. I would say the big part is just feeling at home. When I came here on my visit for football, I did an overnight visit, and then I also did just a regular day visit, just a tour. And I honestly felt the most comfortable at this school. I checked out other schools. Other schools were also recruiting me, so I checked out those like Cal U. I looked at Clarion. But at the end of the day, I just felt the most comfortable here. I feel like it really wasn't as much, the fact that my dad went here is the reason I decided to come here. It's more just, the good feel that, I was getting out of, checking out this school. So.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of discipline to separate that as well off, not to think, well, my dad went here, this means it's automatically going to be good for me. You saying they had not as much to do with that, nearly as much as it was, no, I personally felt comfortable at this place. When it comes to the aspect of football, I mean, this is something I'm very interested in. Obviously, I mean, we talked about before the show. You're no longer with a team, but the fact that you were on that team for a certain period of time definitely indicates a couple things in my opinion. Number one, you had a good athletic upbringing throughout your childhood. So, when did you get interested in playing in football?
Sixth grade. So I mean, it wasn't at like a super young age. I mean, I had a lot of teammates that said they started like way back when they were younger. But yeah, I started in sixth grade. I played a bunch of other positions, but once I got to high school, I just really started focusing on kicking and punting. I went to a bunch of recruiting camps, like for kicking specific camps. It was called Coles. But yeah, that's how I really started to get looks from schools, including Shippensburg.
Did you play any sports prior to football? I mean, I know that there's a lot of correlations between soccer and football.
Yeah.
I know that there's been a couple times. It's like emergency cases, but there's like stories that you've heard from some college programs that like their kicker gets hurt or something like that, and ultimately they bring on a soccer player from the program from the university, and they step right in, and it's kind of like putting on a used pair of shoes. It's a very smooth process. So I'm kind of curious on that. I mean, obviously you said you really started playing around sixth grade. So did you have a soccer upbringing or what was there?
Yeah. I played soccer all grown up since I was 5 years old. For most kickers, I feel as if 95, probably 95% of kickers that you see in college, NFL, they played soccer growing up. I think I've only ever met one kicker who didn't play soccer growing up. And, it's kind of just that natural swing, when you're kicking, it's pretty similar to a soccer swing. It's a little different with field goals, but it's pretty similar. So
how do you become good at kick? I mean, obviously with the background of soccer, but I mean, as far as practicing, kicks, of course, it's one thing to kick, during a weekday practice or whatnot, and it's another thing to kick on game day. How's the process like to get better and better at that? I mean, is it just simply kicking field goals, or what exercise are involved in it? Like, can you go through the science of kicking almost? I
would say a big, probably 90% of kicking is mental. Because you see it all the time with at big games at D1 schools. These guys are missing easy kicks. 30-yard field goals, 40-yard field goals. You guys might saw the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yes,
in the most recent game, Tyler Loop, he's a good kicker. He's a really good kicker, and he kind of just got to his head in that situation. It's not that he didn't have the ability to make the kick; he was kind of just in his head. So I would say to be a good kicker, you really have to be locked in mentally. Kind of do visualization techniques. That's kind of what I would do. At the end of practice, I would hop in the cold tub, kind of just like imagine myself in game. Making the kick. Trying to reimagine, the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that helped big time. I mean, my first game I played in, I was a little out of it the first kick, but then the second one I really just relaxed. Right. Just told myself, what, I've done this so many times, like I can do it. So.
But basically, simulating the mental strain that you're under during the game in practice gets you ready for the same feelings during the game. A lot of discipline goes into it. What's the farthest you can kick a field goal?
The farthest I've kicked is 60 yards.
60?
Yeah, I might be able to kick far, but yeah, I think a big part of it's just technique. Big part of it's on technique.
I mean, I'll be honest, not to, no offense, hopefully, I was just thinking you'd say 40, 45. At 60 yards, I mean, that's professional level.
Yeah, I would say at the D2 level that it probably guys probably sit around 55, 60 yards, and then like D1, probably 65, 70 yards are like their max.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that, I thought about, and, obviously you brought up the Tyler Loop situation, and, as a Ravens fan, that was a tough situation to go through, and it was really weird because I remember sitting there with a group of my guys, and we were watching the game, and I called it. I knew he was going to miss it. I for some reason, I had it's almost like I forced out.
Had a feeling. I'm a Steelers fan.
It's almost like I saw it, before it even happened. I was like, he's going to miss this kick, and he goes down, and he misses it. Yep. Very similar situation. Billy Cundiff back in the 2011 AFC Championship against Mr. Rainey's New England Patriots.
He knows ball.
These are very simple kicks that are missed, and obviously, I wanted to bring this up. So obviously, you said you study exercise science. I used to be a coaching minor here at SHIP before I changed to communication studies, kind of getting that double aspect of comm. But I took a class called sports psychology. Have you taken that class? That was one of the most important classes I've taken. I didn't do too hot on the exams because I'm just not the best test taker. But it was really cool because it got to break down each and every situation and, like, really brought up the terms of, like, the yips and how, like, sometimes they're really unavoidable. And, like, one player I take for an example is Jake Moody. He played for Michigan. He was a Wolverine. And then the 49ers drafted him, I believe, in the third round. And he was really good to start his career for them. And it was like, wow, they kind of went off, I guess kind of went off the typical draft strategy of, like, you never pick a kicker, especially that high. And he was really good. And everyone's like, wow, maybe this is going to be the normal thing. And then all of a sudden he just started to miss kicks and then miss more kicks. And then ultimately, no longer was on the team. So have you ever experienced something called, like, something similar to the yips?
Yeah, definitely. I would say my senior year of high school, the first like 3 games, I wasn't coming in too hot. I think I went probably two for 5. Not the best start. I mean, the range was probably like 30 to 45 yard field goals. I made like 2 for 5. But then after that, I bounced back. I just kept, doing drills throughout the week. I kept, continuing with visualization techniques, and I was able to bounce back from that. But yeah, I mean, Jake Moody's a really good example. And then not only that, Younghoe Koo, that's always been one of my favorite kickers, and it's really heartbreaking to see, him get a sort of the yips. And it's just pretty common. I mean, this all reflects back on kicking. The kicking game is big on mentality, big mentally.
That's how you let it off earlier. A quick pause here for station identification. So you're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, and special guests every week, Fridays at 5 p.m. And going into your football experience now, I think, in the collective, of course, there is a fraternity within the team. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So you come here fall of 2023. Talk about sort of how you have to, throughout the summer you're practicing, I'm sure, a lot. What is the process like of developing the relationships with the players that are around you, and sort of getting that welcome to college aspect from the football team?
Yeah, so when I came in here as a freshman, I was pretty nervous, just obviously like how every freshman is, coming to the environment, adjusting to college. I would say the relationships that I formed with football are really awesome because, they're almost kind of forced in a way because we're always together.
Yeah.
College football takes up, I think, probably around 25 hours out of your week in season, and then out of season, probably a little bit less. But yeah, those are just, those are the guys that, you're always going to be around, always, pushing each other. And I think, when you want to, have, be on a good team, everybody's going to really push each other, and that's going to help build those connections, and build that bond up. But
25 hours, that's a part-time job. I mean, at the end of the day, it's exceptional to me, at least. That's a time commitment to honor. I mean, I know one of the things that happens in college sports, and it's probably the change from high school to college, is when you're in college, it's not only emphasized what you're doing on the football team, but it's outside of that. The team is in study sessions together, I imagine. The team is it's almost like they're negotiating day-to-day life together all the time. So, I mean, I imagine emotionally it can get a little bit exhausting at times. But, I mean, talk to me about the times you played football beyond that. I mean, being around the players, the coaches with Coach Mack. I mean, how'd you feel like you were developing as a person throughout that?
Oh, it definitely built up discipline. Discipline was a big thing because the way we would run the program and everything, I'm not going to go too specific, but it was pretty strict. It was pretty strict with a lot of the stuff we did, and the way we trained. It really helped turn me into a man, and I think it's really building up everybody on the team because you can't really take shortcuts when you play for SHIP football.
No.
We're the only people up on campus when we're doing those morning runs. In the winter. 6 a.m., 5:30 in the morning, you're you're up, nobody else is up, and that's just another level of discipline you really need to, do well in life. And I think football really helped me big time, just, helped me out with many skills, time management.
Yeah.
Time management's a big thing with school. It's really tough balancing school with a sport, So respect to all the athletes here, all D2 athletes, all college athletes. It's really hard to balance, but it's manageable. And, once you get into a good routine, that prepares you for life after college.
Yeah. I mean, it's super impressive, and it's not only impressive for people to graduate high school and go on to college, because ultimately college isn't for everyone. It's a privilege that people get to attend college and get a higher level of education. Ultimately, whether it's a bachelor's degree and then going on to a master's, etc. But you're taking the extra step of not only are you going to college, but now you're doing athletics on top of that, and now you were in the fraternity. Now you're in the fraternity, and you were going through your new member process while you were still on the football team, which I commend you for that. That's an extreme, shows your dedication to both organizations.
Oh yeah.
But kind of connecting things back to Greek life, what would you say are some skills that you learned from Coach Mack and your time on the football team that you've been able to you mentioned time management, working with your helping you out in terms of your academics and becoming a man, but there's definitely been some skills that you learned from playing football, being around the teammates, being around Coach Mack, the coaching staff, that you've now translated into your experience within Pyland Defy, and hopefully that you're passing on to your brothers within the organization.
Nah, that's a great topic. Within the fraternity, I think it's best, from transitioning with football and then Greek life. Communication's a really big thing within all fraternities and sororities, and I think with football that also aligns. Just always helping your brothers, stay accountable, with football and everything. And I feel like that also aligns with Greek life. Just making sure, your brother's in check. Your brother is, doing the right things. Not, sliding off the rails. Staying focused on, their goals, their future. I think that's definitely a big thing. And then with football, you're always making sure your guys put in the work. Getting all the reps in the weight room. Putting in the work on their own time, having good habits, getting good sleep. Same thing in the fraternity. You're telling your guys to, stay on top of their task, on e-board. Stay on top of, just being smart, not just being locked in. But yeah.
It makes sense to me. I mean, this is something that, like we talked about, not translating it back to professional football. The story of not to insert my own personal biases of, what the New England Patriots have done this year. They have had a record-breaking successful year compared to what the failures were within the organization. And I think the first aspect is getting the team to actually like each other. This was a philosophy that their head coach, Mike Vrabel, had implemented, where it was literally about sitting guys down, giving them a room to open up about their personal life experiences. And what that did is it created your culture of accountability, where brothers knew more, or the football players, I should say, but in the brotherhood within the football team, they knew about one another, and they want all 53 guys on the team. They all want each other to be more successful because of it. And instead of playing by themselves, they're playing very team-oriented football, which it explains, I think, so clearly why, during this playoff run that New England's had, both their games have been so decided by how the defense is playing and confusing their offenses. It's obvious as to why it's happening once you think about the stories of and hearing about what Coach Vrabel did. The transition to that is, how were those things developed? Like, how were the team bonding things developed on the football team, and how does Pylam do it?
Oh yeah, so within football, like I said, us just always being together, always having mandatory lifts, and then at the same time practice and everything. I mean, we're just always here. Every time we're at the dining hall, we have like our own section. You guys might see it. It's where all the football players sit. All the athletes in their own area. So I would say, even beyond just all the football activities outside of that, we're just always hanging out together. We're always having a good time.
Yeah, sorry to I'm gonna make a point on that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those. I'll get my breakfast at 7 a.m. if I have to, and I remember there's been so many times where you walk past a football team, and it's definitely apparent you guys get along with each other. There's no mystery about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, going into Pi Lam, I mean, so I would assume that the answer to this question is yes, but they were flexible with you as you were doing football and your new member ed, I'd assume.
Oh,
they were
yeah,
willing to work
definitely.
with you, yeah. So once you get into Pi Lam, once you pursue the roles you had, you said you were involved in Greek Week and you were involved in alumni. Talk about those two roles a little bit. I think the alumni is very self-explanatory, especially with your dad being a part of it.
Yeah.
Legacy. How did you get those two positions? What was the interest level for you on those ends, and how did you lead in those situations?
Yeah, so I mean, with the alumni chair, I was basically forced into it, but I'm good with that since because of my dad. So he has a lot of connections still. Like he still is in the loop with a lot of his fraternity brothers from his time, which is really cool. And everything good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, but with those connections, I'm able to allow myself to keep them in the loop. Tell my dad about situations we have going on with alumni. So within that position, I also we also have like a Facebook page called just Pi Lam Group. So we have probably about I think 150 to 200 members on there.
Oh wow!
So with that, we'll just post updates of like whatever's going on campus or within our fraternity. We'll post that to the alumni network, and that's just a good place to just keep networking, keep talking to them about what we're up to, just keeping them in the loop.
When was your chapter founded on campus?
It was founded in 1981.
Okay, so it goes back 45 years then. So that's multiple generations. I mean, we had the privilege. We're 1969, so we're going back to people who would have been born in the 1940s in some extreme cases. So that generational connection, it's truly a special thing about Greek life that no other organization on campus can possibly replicate. And there's lessons within that itself. But Greek Week 2025. So talk about planning that and how that chair position works exactly in Pi Lam. Because I don't think we don't have a Greek Week chair, so to speak.
No, it's always just been Michael Luzzi. Our social chairman has always just kind of handled it.
Gotcha.
But
put on.
It's definitely not a bad chair. I mean, to add, but I don't know. He does a fantastic job at it, and why take it away from someone that's going to do a good job?
No, yeah. I like how you guys do that. Yeah, with the social chair. I mean, with ours, with what I did during Greek Week, is kind of just keeping everybody, involved, up to date with whatever activities are going on. Just keeping them in the loop. And then, I mean, at the same time, that's pretty much all I did. Yeah. There wasn't really much else going on. I think it's just making sure, with whatever task we have going on, I'd be like, okay, this group of guys, within the fraternity, we have to focus on this task right here. What was the one when we were all running around campus trying to find
Medallion
these?
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started on that one.
That's a frustrating one.
Yeah, that was a frustrating one. It was so funny because I remember the one day we were all out there, and then they posted on the store or whatever. I think at like noon or something, and everybody was just running to the Cub. That was funny, man.
It's a good time. It's almost like you see everyone like bringing out the inner childhood, if you know what I mean.
No,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for it this year because I missed it during my new member process. I was away for a conference, and then 2025 I was extremely busy and occupied throughout my days, so it was very hard to enjoy it. But this semester I definitely have a little bit more of a relaxed schedule, so I can certainly focus a little bit more on trying to enjoy the cadence of that week, especially as graduation approaches for Andrew and I. This will be our last. Our last rodeo, if you will. So it's an interesting time, and I'm thinking from that standpoint. But going into that, so of course you have Greek Week, you have Greek Week, you have alumni. Now you have some different positions. So tell us about what you're up to now for Pi Lam.
Yeah, so I'm gonna first talk about recruitment. Within that spot, I mean, it's just the end of the day how I I move forward with recruitment within Greek life, it's been struggling, I think, all around Greek life with, getting new members, but my thing is I'm not as much buddy with them, trying to be like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I try to be real with them at the end of the day, real with, the freshmen that are coming in that are interested. I just hang out with them. We'll have them hang out with the brothers. Obviously you guys know about, we do recruiting events, but at the same time, I'll go to Reisner with them, just have a meal or something. It's just at the end of the day, I'm not trying to, make the situation seem kind of just uncomfortable, and just all business. I'm trying to make it feel more at home, more of that,
Well, yeah, informalize it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say this. I mean, it comes down to job and internship interviews. We've all done them before, and I think every single person would say, there's some interviews you do well in, there's some interviews you don't do so well in. Mm-hmm. And what helps me, at least, is whenever I already know the person who's interviewing me. If I'm walking into the room and it's someone that I haven't met before previously, I'm a little less comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But if it's someone that I've gelled with in some past setting in any way, I mean, I've been interviewed by friends before from this campus. I've been interviewed by people I've met in very professional circles. Those ones tend to go a little bit better than the ones where it's a total stranger, but it's because we've already established that informal connection, even though you're going into the most formal position that you're ever going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of important things to think about. I mean, obviously, this is no disrespect towards Rainey at all, but that's the one thing that, we are very different at. But that's what makes us great as friends and as co-hosts is he takes the more professional side. I was actually the previous public relations chairman before him, and it was a very smooth transition process. I still work with him to this day, even though I'm not in the position. But I'll tell him things, and he's like, "All right, well, let's take this spin on it. Let's do this." And I think that's what makes us work so well together. But the main thing is, making yourself relate with these individuals. So you start talking to them, and it's like, oh, this person likes basketball. Well, then either you like basketball or you find a brother that likes basketball, and then you're like,
Yep.
It's like peanut butter and jelly right there, perfect match.
Great combination, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But the things I wanted to say is, obviously recruitment is a very hard job, and as we're gonna get on a little bit more, it's not your only job, and I commend you for that. But one thing on a kind of funny note / sad note, what are you guys gonna do about your annual rush event that you usually have? I think it's called Briskets and Billards. As soon as I saw that post, I thought about you guys. I was like, man, Pi Lamb's out of a rush event.
Yep.
You guys were probably real sad. I mean, I was sad too.
Dude,
Redemption. I'm devastated about Redemption, man.
Yes, that's very unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking of just going to Marai Tacos, or we were looking at Dave's Hot Chicken if, we want to have, the guys go all the way down there. So we're just going to see how it plays out.
Yeah, until time to start something new and time to explore around and play around. I mean, it's tough whenever you lose a tradition like that, but there's always a way to start a new one.
R.I.P. Redemption, baby.
Yeah, it's tough to lose a restaurant like that.
Zach Taylor would definitely be really upset. I don't know if anyone's broke the news to him, but
he's one of our alums.
Ooh, we were always there, but obviously you started this job at I believe middle of November-ish. And then that's always a little bit weird because you have the end of the semester, so you guys are still working with the previous e-board. Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to point out is, and kind of talk a little bit about, is you guys just had a conclave at Temple University.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? Obviously, we have conclaves every other year, so we have a leadership conference and then a grand conclave, and they're every other year. So last year was the grand conclave in Las Vegas, Nevada. This year is the leadership conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't know if I'm going to be going. New Orleans is an interesting place, so to speak, and I know Mr. Luke Hillegass would say the exact same thing. But what exactly was this conclave, and what were some things that you learned? Because I believe this was your first one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So it was at Temple University. We had probably around think around 10 chapters there, maybe a little less. But it was really cool. We basically just talked about a couple main topics. The first was recruitment. Recruitment was a big one. We talked about that for a while, and it was really cool because we were able to collaborate with other chapters, across the country, just talking about, what are their methods, what are they doing, when it comes to recruiting, and we were able to kind of collab with them, which was really, really helpful. I learned a lot. We all learned a lot. Everybody on the e-board. So I was talking to, I'm trying to think of other chapters. Bloomsburg was there. Pylam Temple. Who else? We also had UC Berkeley. They came all the way out from California. Drexel. But yeah, it was awesome. And it was just a big, it was a pretty long day. It was from like 10 to 6 o'clock, but we got so much out of it. So yeah, this was obviously an event that was skewed towards, the Northeast region, just so the schools you listed, a lot of them from Pennsylvania. Where's Pylam's headquarters in the country, number one? And number two, is this, Kappa Sigma tends to be one that's known very well in, the deep south parts of the country. Mm-hmm. What about Pylam? Where is that known for? Do they have sort of a footprint in the Northeast? I would say we're big Mid-Atlantic.
Okay.
What was the first question? You said the headquarters?
Yeah, where
I believe it's in Connecticut.
Okay, that makes sense then.
But yeah, we have a decent amount of D1 schools. I'm trying to think. Our biggest chapters are Temple, obviously, Eastern Carolina, Pitt, Florida State, and that's the ones that come to the top of my head. I think around those.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely interesting. The main thing that I think is interesting about that is there's schools that you just named are kind of all over. Pitt and Temple are here in Pennsylvania, but then Florida State, East Carolina, whereas with Kappa Sigma. As Rainey mentioned, it's very, especially with our larger chapters, it's very southern-based, whether it's in Alabama, Georgia. Arkansas is actually huge for Kappa Sigma. But the Northeast region did wonders this time from the fall recruitment. So it seems that the Northeast is rapidly growing. But kind of getting back to the main topic of, your executive positions. So I kind of spoke to Mike Rainey, your former president, about it because Mike and I go way back, pretty good friend of mine. And I remember when I saw the photo that you were, or I guess the photo / the bio, when I saw that you were Recruitment and Scribe. How did that happen? I was kind of a little confused on that. I was told that Mike was like, oh, well, he wanted to do both. So what exactly led to you wanting to do both positions? Because obviously they both have a huge level of significance. I mean, Vince was in a couple weeks. Vince and Garrett were in on one of our last episodes of last semester, and Vince was the previous Scribe, and he spoke about his responsibilities. So, what exactly led to you wanting to take on two large executive positions? Yeah, well, within our fraternity for Scribe position, there's not as much involved compared to probably other chapters with how their Scribe runs it. A couple of the jobs you got to do within that position for Scribe, we put back on the president. The president just takes care of it. But yeah, with recruitment, I decided to go with recruitment because I find a big, I already have a lot of connections, throughout this campus, and I think it's very. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting new people all the time, and that's kind of a big reason why I wanted to choose, recruitment chair. At the same time, it's just it's just awesome meeting new people, and I like to stay busy. So,
yeah, well, a good way to do it is to join a fraternity. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So I'd say professionally speaking, of course, we talked about a little bit before the show, your background in exercise science. Obviously, you're quite knowledgeable in the field, especially given the fact that you were a Division II college athlete. Talk about what your ambitions are with the with your career and perhaps how Greek life. I'd say for football, the benefits are probably pretty clear, but what are the benefits of both Greek life and football as it applies to what you want to do?
Yeah, so in my future, I do want to go into PT school, still on the pathway to become a physical therapist. But yeah, with what was the question again? You said with
How does Greek life and football tie into your professional interest?
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say, yeah, like I said earlier, probably the time management and then commitment to everything I do. I would say also attention to detail within, physical therapy. You really got to be attentive to detail. Doing everything the right way. I mean, you don't want to do something the wrong way with your patients. You're helping out people, and a big part of that is also just working with other people, in an office and being on top of things. And that's really what I love about eBoard. Working on it within an eBoard that really ties into a business standpoint at the office. You're collaborating, you're working things out, and that's what I really love about that. And then with football, I would say just always being on time to things, always being attentive, doing everything with intent, having a purpose with everything you do. That's what ties to my future. So
yeah, punctuality. I can't emphasize that point enough with anything in life. I mean, I always tend to think like I'm going to be one of the earliest people to show up to things. Obviously, unless I have something right before it where I have to kind of juggle time commitments. But if I got time to show up early, I'm going to be showing up early, pretty much no matter what the reason is. That being said, those tried and true values will take you a long way. But you also recognize, in my opinion, being in a fraternity, being in a football team, when you fail, other people fail because of it. So there's a lot of responsibility involved with that. But I thought, you mentioned being on time. I mean, that's one of my core values, and it's my biggest pet peeve when people are not on time. No doubt about it. But that being said, I mean, we are getting close to the end of the hour here, but still just a little bit more time to keep going. So, Derek, all this to be said, I mean, you got a year left. So, what do you anticipate is your involvement in not Kappa Sigma, Pi Lambda Phi? What's your involvement in Pi Lambda Phi looking like for senior year?
So obviously it's a year-long term, so I'm just gonna finish up on recruitment in the fall, and then continue with my Scribe position. I think the biggest thing I want to focus on is keeping everybody involved, always staying busy, pushing my brothers to be the best version of themselves, and at the same time just making the most of every opportunity we have. Finishing up with school. I mean, college flies by, man. So
right, yeah. At least you recognize that now. While you still have a year and a half to go with Andrew and I.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's May 9th, and that's the day. But it's also, I mean, the thing is this is once you kind of get your future a little bit figured out, and whenever that is, I think that's what I've told myself is once I get the plan after graduation ironed down, that's what I think I'll feel a lot more comfortable with. I can enjoy everything that comes in between then and now. But it's stressful until you get that, but it's a good stress in life. It teaches you a lot of things. Adversity does build character, so it's one of those you're along for the ride, but in the end, life tends to sort itself out sometimes in ways that you sometimes don't ask for.
Exactly.
But that being said, again, just another station identification. Listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, and special guests every single Friday at 5 p.m. So now going into the last part of the show, Derek, we always do this. We typically brief our guests beforehand about this part, but we failed to do that this week for you. So this is a surprise. Do you have any questions for Andrew and I that you want to hear from us that we can help answer? Because we asked you a lot so far in the past 45 minutes, so returning the favor, if you will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my first one is, you guys have probably been asked this before, but what made you guys decide to go into this, having Greek Speak every Friday? What was your motivation,
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about our own inspiration, for joining Greek life in and of itself. But when it came down to it, so this is our fourth semester doing the show, which is great. It's our second year. Where we are definitely looking for who can take the mantle as we graduate. Someone's going to have to host this show next year. So in my opinion, anybody from Greek life can do it. At least who has the qualifications. It certainly doesn't have to be just a Kappa Sigma. Number one. But number two, when we started the show, it was coming from spring 2024, where I think there was a little bit of tension going on between student media as well as Greek life. Both Andrew and I are involved in student media and Greek life. So for me, it was something that I think hurt a little bit to see that there was tension, because both of those communities have supported me in extremely extremely good ways. So this show, in my opinion, was seen as a way to bridge that divide. As here are two people who I think Andrew and I, not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we can be positive ambassadors for the Greek community, while also doing an honorable job at the things that we do in student media. So that was the inspiration, I think, from my standpoint of, okay, why does this show truly matter for us to do? And I'm sure, Andrew, you might have a thing or two to add on to that.
That's great, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we wanted to do is, obviously, Luke became a brother in the spring 2024 semester. Luke and our friendship kind of goes way back. I remember I was kind of talking to him, and I was kind of hinting at it because I joined back in the spring of 2023. Coming on 3 years in about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I'm a little bit of unk status, but, I was kind of like, hey, man, I was kind of pitching it to him and all that, but eventually, he ended up joining, and we were kind of talking about it, and we both wanted to get much more involved within student media. At that point, I'd always been a huge supporter of WSYC as a radio station, but I just kind of didn't really know much about it. What actually sparked it was Rylan Walls, who's another member of the student media department here. Rylan and I got really close, and we started a sports talk show called Beyond the Game, and that gave me some experience in terms of speaking into a microphone, making, edits, posting it on Spotify, that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I like that, but, let's take it. That wasn't as professional as this. So I wanted to get, that wasn't live. That was pre-recorded and all that kind of stuff. And again, it kind of went back to, let's bridge the gap. And I'll be the first to tell you, so the roles that Rainey and I have is, I would definitely say that we're both co-hosts and we're probably equal in a sense. We both have our own strengths and weaknesses. I would say that his strengths are probably my weaknesses, and then vice versa for me. I've taken on the role of being the scheduler. I've been the one that really does the reach outs. Obviously, he did it for you this week. I was going to reach out, but then he kind of beat me to the punch there. But, my job was to plan out each semester of all right, who are we going to have this week? And I'll be the first to say, it was a pain in the butt the first semester because I guess people just kind of didn't really understand what it was. Our viewership sucked. I wouldn't say it sucked, but it just kind of wasn't what it needed to be. And I was like, oh, well, then, there was a lot of self-doubt. And then all of a sudden, second semester, third semester, the floodgates opened. And I had people reaching out, and I'm like, I don't have enough episodes to get you guys on. So ultimately, we, started doubling people up and that kind of stuff. And it's just brought a huge smile to my face because I really feel like the relationship between student media and Greek life has been healed a little bit. And that was kind of the purpose, was to shine a light on Greek life. Give people like you a chance to talk about, what has Greek life done for you? Because you never know. There could be a freshman walking around this campus right now that goes, well, I don't know what Greek life is. And they could hear a little soundbite of, okay, Derek said, it really helped me grow as a professional. It really helped me with time management and that kind of stuff. And be like, okay, that resonates with me. So the main goal is to resonate with people and really shine Greek life in a different light, because it is a lot more than, just the guys getting together and having a good time. This is stuff you're going to put on a resume. This is stuff you're going to talk about in a job interview. And long story short, it's going to help you in your life. So I know that was a long answer, but I don't really have a clear answer to that question.
Well, and I think more than anything as well, it helps when you know somebody who's in Greek life. So that's where, when it came from the student media perspective, I knew we had many student media people who are in Greek life, and whenever things weren't so happy between the two, that was the hope, was give people who are involved in student media a chance to speak up a little bit if they so desire, and that has been what's happened. So like Andrew said, our relationship between student media and Greek life, I think, is very strong right now, and I'm proud that I think this helped facilitate it in some way. Do you have any more questions for us, Derek? Anything else on the hopper?
No, I mean, I really just want to say, like, those are great answers. I think you guys spreading awareness about Greek life here at school is great, with our relationships, and then at the same time, it's really letting the rest of the student body know, what we're doing here with Greek life. We're letting them know, people really don't know as much about Greek life, so we're educating them, hearing people's stories. I'm really happy I got to be on this show.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Well, yeah, we've been happy to have you, and I think it's been an awesome conversation and a great way to kick off the spring 2026 semester. For Andrew and I, it's our final one, and Andrew?
Well, another thing that I want to say is, I've done it before, but kind of just shouting out Pi Phi and, really thanking you, Derek, today, because Pi Lam was actually the first organization we ever had on the show. We did have Reed, who was from the Kappa Sigma organization, but
wait, was it
Anthony McCloskey was the first ever guest we ever had. And I remember I sent him an email or something, and he's like, "Dude, you have my Snapchat, just text me." And I'm like, I didn't know back then. It was a long time ago, and I didn't know how professional I wanted to do it, and I've definitely toned down the professionalism in terms of messages.
Yeah, you can just say what's up, man.
Hey,
that
man.
encourages
You guys just sent me you guys just sent me the Instagram DM, and I'm like, "Bet."
But
that was me.
I don't know. It's just been a heck of a rodeo. I must say, but just shout out to you guys, because you guys have probably been our biggest supporters outside of our own organization, and I hope that this isn't the last Pi Lam interview, because they've definitely been some of my favorite, if I must say.
Nah, this has been awesome. We had Garrett and Vincent, so who knows who may want to do it next. So
yeah, well, we've been happy to have you, Derek, as well this year, and best of luck as the spring semester heats up here, coming up. 1 week down, but plenty more to go. And again, like Andrew said, hopefully this is not goodbye for the Pi Lam brothers to come on this show. So thank you very much for being here, and for all our listeners, once again, as I said at the top of the show, please stay safe this weekend. Thank you for listening, and until next week, take care, everybody.